रेडी। वेडनेसडे केसी रिव्यू में से लिखेंगे 7 नंबर। पहले कुछ फ्रेजोग्राफी की वर्ड्स लिख लो और फिर मैं आपको आउटलाइन बता देता हूँ, फिर डिक्टेशन स्टार्ट करता हूँ। और जो ऑलरेडी कंप्लीट कर चुके हैं केसी रिव्यू वो सबमिट कर देंगे, जो भी आपके पास उसके नेक्स्ट वाला ले लेंगे। रेडी। हैव नॉट बीन certain provisions, specific provisions, there is no provisions, great responsibility, we would not like, above all, we would be, seems to be, there seems to be, seems to have been, would not be able to, they will be made, in this country earlier than the good fortune, misfortune, President of India, public opinion, in accordance with the piece of legislation, by their own, it should have been, industrial workers come into being, came into being, we have not done, not being able to, which have not, cannot be said, as they were, if it was, it has not been, whenever there is legislative measures, labor relations, it is matter of sugarcane, sugar industry, textile industries, have not yet been, water supply, as a matter of course, on previous occasions, we are aware that the which have to be, you will find from the government, whenever there is what are known, all the same, as they have done, ought to have been, far better, are being taken, very great importance, will remember that the, as will be seen, we realize could not be done in the history of those who were in this way, might not have, as long as, to my own, in many places, in certain places, this is the case, agricultural production, industrial production, for a long time, to say a few words, multi-purpose point of view, from the point of view of the points of view as it has been, I think there is, we should know, we should like to know that they should be, they should have, will not be there, those who are, those who have been, is not being given in his own, that they have been, Chief Secretary, Additional Secretary, Joint Secretary, General Secretary, Deputy Secretary, Under Secretary, Private Secretary, Estimates Committee, Public Accounts Committee is taken up, are taken up, will be taken up, in charge of my colleagues on behalf of the government for many years from some quarters, as was, who would be, which would be, head of the department, head of the government, before the country, before the world, general elections, by-elections. I am glad to know if there are no, it was said that each and every, in response to the in agreement with the commerce and industry, all of a sudden, that being so, much less than the up to the mark, as is being done in the meanwhile, in the meantime, budget speech, budget proposals, budget estimates, let us consider, should consider the and the like, other than courts of law. During the course of we shall not be able to came into force certain other things. I would like to emphasize middle classes, mixed economy. It is essential that per annum, from year to year, has stated 1/3, 2/3, unless there is Western countries. This morning, to a considerable extent, Ministry of Railways, Railway Administration, Agriculture Minister, Education Minister, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, All India Radio, Union Public Service Commission, Delhi Transport Authority, Ministry of External Affairs, Railway Ministry, Agriculture Ministry, Home Ministry, Finance Ministry, Education Ministry, Railway Inquiry Committee. हैव नॉट बीन, तो हैव बनाएंगे पूरा, एन को ऑफ करेंगे और उसी में बीन का हुक लगा देंगे। सर्टेन प्रोविजंस, एस आर हाफ एंड सर्टेन, वी में शन लगा दो, प्रोविजंस एस लगा दो, प्रोविजंस हो जाएगा। स्पेसिफिक प्रोविजंस, ये स्पेसिफिक प्रोविजंस के लिए वी में सन में एस। देयर इज नो प्रोविजन, देयर इज नो, फिर सेम प्रोविजंस के लिए वी में सन और फिर एस। ग्रेट रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, ग्रेट में एस और पी। वी वुड नॉट लाइक, वी वुड नॉट लाइक। अबोव ऑल, अबोव और ये ऑल। वी वुड बी, सीम्स टू बी, देयर सीम्स टू बी, सीम्स टू हैव बीन, हैव में एन को बीन पढ़ेंगे। वुड नॉट बी एबल टू, वुड नॉट बी एबल टू, एबल को हाफ कर लो। दे विल बी मेड, एम हाफ एंड डार्क। इन दिस कंट्री, के इनकी डबलिंग कर दो। अर्लियर देन द, देन का हुक लगा दिया। गुड फॉर्च्यून, गे को एफ से काट देंगे, गुड को। इस तरह से मिस फॉर्च्यून आता है, मिस को एफ से काट देंगे। प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया, एन हाफ एंड डार्क। पब्लिक ओपिनियन, पब्लिक में एन का हुक लगा दो, पी और बी। इन अकॉर्डेंस विद द, अकॉर्डेंस विद द। प्राइस ऑफ लेजिस्लेशन, सॉरी पीस ऑफ लेजिस्लेशन, पीस लाइन को काटेंगे, लेजिस्लेशंस। बाय देयर ओन, बाय लाइन से ऊपर देयर ओन का हुक। इट शुड हैव बीन, इट शुड हैव बीन का हुक। इंडस्ट्रियल वर्कर्स, डबलिंग कर देते हैं इंडस्ट्रियल की और के में एस लगा दो। या फिर आप वर्कर्स के लिए के आर भी यूज कर सकते हो, वर्क्स हो जाएगा वो, इंडस्ट्रियल वर्कर्स, और ये हो जाएगा इंडस्ट्रियल वर्क्स, और डॉट लगा देंगे तो वीक हो जाएगा। कमिंग इनटू बीइंग, केम इनटू बीइंग। वी हैव नॉट डन, वी हैव नॉट डन, एन का हुक। नॉट बीइंग एबल टू, नॉट एन हाफ किया, बीइंग एबल को हाफ कर दिया टू के लिए। which have not, cannot be said as they were, W or R. if it was, if को हाफ कैट के लिए और was लगा दिया, if it is का सर्कल और was. it has not been, been का हुक। whenever there is, डबलिंग कर दी, इसका सर्कल लगा दिया, देयर के लिए डबलिंग किया। लेजिस्लेटिव मेजर, मेजर्स। लेबर रिलेशंस, इट इज ए मैटर ऑफ, शुगर कैन, इसकी डबलिंग कर दी। शुगर इंडस्ट्री, आप चाहो तो शुगर को ऐसे बना सकते हो, शुगर, शुगर कैन, शुगर इंडस्ट्री। टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्रीज, has not yet been water supply, डबलिंग कर देंगे डब्ल्यू की वाटर के लिए। एज ए मैटर ऑफ कोर्स, ऑन प्रीवियस ओकेजन, we are aware that the which have to be, you will find from the government whenever there is, डबलिंग करके इस लगा दो, what are known all the same as they have done ought to have been far better, बी की डबलिंग कर देंगे, are being taken very great importance, MP Doc, will remember that the, as will be seen, we realize could not be done in the history of those who were in this way might not have, आई लगा भी सकते हो उसे एम के साइज के हिसाब से, as long as to my own in many places in certain places this is the case, small circle case, एग्रीकल्चरल प्रोडक्शन, या तो आप ऐसे बना लो, नहीं तो सीधा एग्रीकल्चर में सन लगा दो डबलिंग करके, इंडस्ट्रियल प्रोडक्शन, या फिर इसी में सन लगा दो डबलिंग करके, फॉर ए लॉन्ग टाइम to say a few words, multi-purpose, point of view, point of view, views आएगा तो सर्कल लगाएंगे, from the point of view of the points of view as it has been आई थिंक देयर इज, डबलिंग कर देंगे देयर के लिए। वी शुड नो, वी शुड लाइक टू नो, that they should have, will not be there, those who have been, is not being given, हुक भी लगा सकते हो गिवन का, अगर ग्राम लोग में हुक यूज करते हो। अब बिना हुक यूज कर सकते हो, इतना भी छोड़ सकते हो। इन हिज ओवन, दैट दे हैव बीन चीफ सेक्रेटरी, डबलिंग कर देंगे के की, एडिशनल सेक्रेटरी, ज्वाइंट सेक्रेटरी, जे को हाफ करके डबलिंग कर देंगे, जनरल सेक्रेटरी, डेप्यूटी सेक्रेटरी, अंडर सेक्रेटरी, प्राइवेट सेक्रेटरी, एस्टिमेट्स कमिटी, टी लगा देंगे, पब्लिक अकाउंट्स कमिटी, टी लगा देंगे, अकाउंट साफ होगा, थोड़ा साइज छोटा रहेगा। इज टेकन अप, आर टेकन अप, will be taken up, in charge of the, my colleagues, on behalf of the government, ये लगा देंगे, for many years, from some quarter, as was, who would be, which would be, head of the department, ऑफ का लगा देंगे, दागा टिक, हेड ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट, बिफोर द कंट्री, डबलिंग करके के एन की डबलिंग कर देंगे, बी की डबलिंग, बिफोर द वर्ल्ड, जनरल इलेक्शन, बाई इलेक्शंस, जनरल इलेक्शंस, बाई इलेक्शंस, आई एम ग्लैड टू नो, if they are no, it was said that each and every in agreement with the कॉमर्स एंड इंडस्ट्री, कॉमर्स में के पूरा है, कोटेज में हाफ होता है, ऑल ऑफ ए सडन that being so, less than the much less than the up to the mark as is being done in the meanwhile, in the meantime, budget speech, budget proposal, budget proposals एस लगा देना, budget estimate, estimates. Let us consider, should consider the, टिक लगा देना दा के लिए, and the like, other than courts of law, during the course of the, we shall not be able to come into force, came into force, certain other things, other के लिए डबलिंग कर दी, certain के एन की. I would like to emphasize, एफएस लगा देंगे, middle classes, mixed economy, it is essential that essential में एन लगाओ, it is essential, फिर दैट लगाओ, per annum, from year to year, ऐसे बना सकते हो, has stated लार्ज सर्कल के साथ 1/3, 2/3, unless there is, देयर के लिए डबलिंग, सर्कल है, आगे बढ़ाएंगे तो दा हो जाएगा. वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज होगा तो एस का सर्कल बंद कर देंगे, ये एन एस का सर्कल हो जाएगा. This morning, to a considerable extent, Ministry of Railways, Railway Administration, एग्रीकल्चर मिनिस्टर, या तो आप एसटीआर का लूप लगा लो, नहीं तो एग्रीकल्चर में एल लगा के एसटीआर का लूप लगा दो. एग्रीकल्चर मिनिस्टर, डबलिंग करना इसकी एग्रीकल्चर के, एग्रीकल्चरल मिनिस्टर. एजुकेशन मिनिस्टर, बड़ा लूप. फिनेंस मिनिस्टर, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ फिनेंस, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एजुकेशन, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन एंड ब्रॉडकास्टिंग, या फिर बिना इसके पढ़ा जाएगा कास्टिंग, ऑल इंडिया रेडियो, यूनियन पब्लिक सर्विस कमीशन, दिल्ली ट्रांसपोर्ट अथॉरिटी, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एक्सटर्नल अफेयर्स, एक्सटर्नल अफेयर्स में एफएस से काट दो, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एक्सटर्नल अफेयर्स, रेलवे मिनिस्ट्री एमएन लगा देते हैं या फिर आप एमबी लगा सकते हो, एग्रीकल्चर मिनिस्ट्री एमएन लगा देते हैं या फिर एमबी लगा सकते हो, होम मिनिस्ट्री, टिकट बनाएंगे, ये होम हो जाएगा, मिनिस्ट्री, फिनेंस मिनिस्ट्री, या एमबी लगा सकते हो एमएन की जगह, एजुकेशन मिनिस्ट्री, दोनों सेम है, रेलवे इंक्वायरी कमेटी, लिखो फिर से सभी वर्ड्स, क्या होता है, सेक्रेटरी की डबलिंग करवाई थी मैंने सेक्रेटरी में, प्राइवेट सेक्रेटरी और सेक्टर सेम बनेगा, अंतर क्या रहेगा, जब सेंटेंस स्ट्रक्चर आएगी तो अपने आप पता लग जाएगा सेक्रेटरी की बात कर रहा है, सेक्रेटरी की बात कर रहा है, ठीक है। सेक्टर के लिए भी की डबलिंग करते हैं, जब पब्लिक सेक्टर है हाँ, और प्राइवेट सेक्रेटरी आएगा तो भी सेम बनेगा, ठीक है। ये जो चीज़ें होती हैं ये आप डिफ्रेंशिएट करते हैं, मॉर्निंग का आता है एम से काटते हैं, और यहाँ पे एम से किसके लिए काटा था, किसके लिए, मार्क के लिए भी, तो मार्क के लिए, मॉर्निंग के लिए सेम, बिल के लिए और बजट बिल के लिए काटते हैं, पार्टी के लिए काटते हैं और रिपोर्ट, बिल और बैंक के लिए काटते हैं 20 है, तो यहाँ पे सेम होता है, जब आप पैसे कर रहे होते हो ना तो हम अपने कन्वीनियंट के लिए उसी को यूज करते हैं, ठीक है। लिखेंगे फिर से, have not been certain provisions, specific provisions, there is no provisions, great responsibility, we would not like, above all, we would be, seems to be, there seems to be, seems to have been, would not be able to, they will be made in this country earlier than the good fortune, misfortune, President of India, public opinion, in accordance with the piece of legislation by their own, it should have been, industrial workers came into being, we have not done, not being able to, which have not, cannot be said, as they were, if it was, it has not been, whenever there is legislative measures, labor relations, it is a matter of sugarcane, sugar industry, textile industries, has not yet been, water supply, as a matter of course, on previous occasions, we are aware that the, which have to be, you will find from the government, whenever there is, what are known, all the same, as they have done, ought to have been, far better, are being taken very great importance, will remember that the, as will be seen, we realize could not be done in the history of those who were in this way, might not have as long as to my own in many places. In certain places, this is the case. Agricultural production, industrial production for a long time. To say a few words, multi-purpose point of view. From the point of view of the points of view as it has been, I think we should like to know that they should have, will not be there, those who have been, is not being given in his own, that they have been Chief Secretary, Additional Secretary, Joint Secretary, General Secretary, Deputy Secretary, Under Secretary, Private Secretary, Estimates Committee, Public Accounts Committee is taken up, are taken up, will be taken up in charge of my colleagues on behalf of the government for many years, from some quarters, as was, which would be head of the department, head of the government, before the country, before the world, general elections, by-elections. I am glad to know, if there are no, it was said that each and every, in response to in agreement with the commerce and industry, all of a sudden, that being so, much less than the up to the mark, as is being done in the meanwhile, in the meantime, budget speech, budget proposals, budget estimates, let us should consider the and the like, other than courts of law. During the course of we shall not be able to come into force. Certain other things I would like to emphasize: middle classes, mixed economy. It is essential that per annum, from year to year, has stated 1/3, 2/3, unless there is Western countries. This morning, to a considerable extent, Ministry of Railways, Railway Administration, Agriculture Minister, Education Minister, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, All India Radio, Union Public Service Commission, Delhi Transport Authority, Ministry of External Affairs, Railway Ministry, Agriculture Ministry, Home Ministry, Finance Ministry, Education Ministry, Railway Inquiry Committee. कंटेंट लिखेंगे पहले हाई पे 120 के आसपास, फिर 110, 100, 90 और 80. अगर आपकी स्पीड नहीं भी है तो भी आपको आखिर तक कोशिश करनी है उन वर्डों को बनाने की, जो तुमसे आएंगे वो बनाएंगे. ठीक है, वर्ड कॉमन है, आपने मैक्सिमम सबने बना रखे हैं ये सब. रेडी? Started. Madam Deputy Chairman, the main question for consideration of this House is whether in the increase in the passenger fares and in the freights that has been proposed by the Railway Minister should have the support of this House or not. I have been listening with some interest to the speeches so far made, and they are all unanimous on one point, namely that there should be no increase, particularly so far as the second class passengers are concerned. What we have to decide at present is that those friends who have emphasized their opposition to this levy have also said that in view of our developing economy, in view of our developing industrialization, in view of the fact that there is a greater demand for passenger traffic as well as goods traffic, we have to develop our railway system. We have to see that we increase our lines. We have also to see that we double our lines. We have also to see that the production of the locomotives, wagons and coaches is increased with greater rapidity. Otherwise, we will not be able to meet the demand of the developing economy. It is also agreed that according to the recommendations of the Pay Commission, we all feel that our workers, our laborers are entitled to DA, which will be to the tune of rupees 12 crores. There are no two opinions about it. It is also demanded that so far as amenities to the workers are concerned regarding their privileges and concessions or the repairs to the stock are concerned, there is very urgent need that we should see that our workers do not strain themselves. An engine driver should not be asked to do work for more than 12 hours. Similarly, others in the railways should also have further concessions so far as leisure, rest and leave are concerned. It is also agreed and it has been emphatically stressed on all hands that the second class passengers are not getting amenities which they should get. The greater portion of the income comes from the second class passengers, and the position is that they are not getting their dues by way of rest and comfort which are necessary for them. I appreciate that efforts is being made that so far as sleeping accommodation and provision of fans to the second class passengers are concerned, something is being done. I went through the pages of the budget papers and also the speech of the minister. I came across the significant expression wherever there are failures or shortfalls in performance, we are told that these are mainly due to unpredictable factors or factors beyond control. I do not think that some of the factors which my honorable friend would like us to believe that they are unpredictable or uncontrollable cannot be anticipated. For instance, I may draw the attention of the honorable minister to important fact, that is, we have been supplying since some time past empty haulage for a long distance to collieries, to steel factories and so on. We are told that this empty haulage is unavoidable, that we have to find empty wagons to steel factories and collieries to carry raw material or perhaps coal and the like. So for a long distance we find wagons going empty, but if there had been a research cell, an organization in the ministry to find out ways and means of utilizing these wagons fruitfully by avoiding bottlenecks in between, we could have solved the transport difficulty to a certain extent. I do not want to be told by the minister that this is a physical impossibility. Even in the advanced countries of the world, every movement of wagon, coach and engine is plant before it is put into operation. It is unfortunate and before tragic that in this country, after a decade of planning, we have not been able to think in terms of planning while executing the works. Now, in regard to some of the general problems of the railways, I would say, first of all, that the rise in demand is so great that we have to prepare to provide not only adequate but also effective transport facilities to our people. I need not tell the House that the railway transport system is greatly depend or interdepend on the general economy of the country. But during the last one decade, there has been one significant factor that has to be appreciated. That is, the demand for transport is increased at a faster rate than the rise in the national income or the rise in production in any sector or in any industry. This is a factor that has not been adequately appreciated. Even if it has been adequately appreciated, no attempt or sincere effort has yet been made to carry out the fulfillment of the needs of all the sectors of our इकोनॉमी. सेट नंबर 7 का फर्स्ट है, 120 की स्पीड है, 10 कम पे लिखेंगे. रेडी? स्टार्ट इट. Resolution: to be a good parliamentarian, I had expected that he would place before the House all sides of this problem. I had expected that he would be no less interested in the efficiency and discipline of the administration, no less interested in the public welfare than in the interest of the civil services. But I am sorry to observe that he has taken only one view of the matter, namely the interests of the civil services alone. He has not at all dwelt upon the frightful consequences which a strike of the sort we had the misfortune to have would have had on the country and the people in general. He has spoken, no doubt, in measured tones, unlike the honorable member who sat to his right in the morning and who raised a shout wanting to make up by sound what his arguments lacked in force. I wish to submit to this House that it would be incorrect and it would be imprudent for this House to accept this resolution. It would be incorrect because by accepting this resolution, we would be laying down something bad in principle, and we would also be accepting a policy which would be suicidal and which would cut at the roots of discipline in the services. To the merits of reinstatement or otherwise of these persons, I will come later on. I doubt the very propriety of Parliament going into this matter. Now, let us see what has happened, whether right or wrong departments have taken up the question of these strikers, those who took part in this strike, those who indulge in disobeying the ordinance. Several cases of sabotage and intimidation, including criminal ones, have been gone into, and the authorities have taken some decision. In some cases, the government have taken the decision, and in some cases, the departments have taken the decision. Now, would it be right for Parliament to interfere with these decisions. Suppose we do that. Suppose Parliament interfered with the decisions taken by the government or by the heads of departments tomorrow. With what face and with what authority can the head of a department extract service from his subordinates? This is the question which the Honorable, the mover, must see, and also the other honorable members who have spoken in support of the resolution. But this does not, though, even the fringe of the problem, and when we see the second-class passengers huddled together like cattle, not even having sufficient air to breathe in, we feel that there is something seriously wrong with our railway administration. We have also to see that the shortage that we had about the supply of wagons to the coal mines and to our steel industry is not there. Madam, it is a strange chain of events that the minister who was in charge of steel and who gave statements in a way implying that the railways are not doing their part well is now saddled with that responsibility, and I am sure he must feel double responsibility because he knows how the industry has suffered or was likely to suffer. As the Ministry of Steel, he charged the Railway Ministry of not doing things which should have been done. So now there are the problems that we have to meet, and the question arises how to meet them. I quite understand that there could be some economy affected in administration. I could also understand that by tightening the administration and seeing that there is not much of ticketless travel, we could improve the position. I could also understand that by taking effective measures regarding the new responsibility which Parliament has placed on the shoulders of the Railway Department, namely the liability of a common carrier for goods, for which they have provided rupees 2 crores, and by having all these things in mind, there could be some reduction in expenditure. But I do not think that reduction would be of a value sufficient to meet the increasing demands of the railways. That is the problem. It is true that it will be hard to increase any fare. It would be hard to increase any freight. We do realize and we do appreciate it. And as representatives of the people, we do feel every day that our people are being taxed more and more. As regards freight, madam, my own view is that so far as food articles are concerned, this proposal should be modified just as there has been a modification in the case of giving encouragement for exports and in certain other respects. Similarly, I feel that so far as food articles are concerned, the proposal should be modified, and on the other things, these freights may continue as proposed. In this way, the danger that has been pointed out by honorable members, and to a certain extent correctly, that if the prices of food articles go up, that would create difficulty, would be avoided. 110 की स्पीड है, 838 के आसपास बढ़े. थर्ड नंबर लिखेंगे 100 पे. रेडी? Started. Mr. Vice Chairman, sir, the Plantation Labour Bill 2003 was introduced in the Rajya Sabha on the 6th March 2003. Then it was referred to a joint committee of both the houses, and this joint committee submitted its report in 2005. Now we are discussing this bill today after 6 years of the submission of the report by the joint committee. Hence, the bill would not be able to deal with the present day expectations of the workers of the plantations. The original act in regard to the plantation labor, namely the Act of 2001 itself, provided various welfare measures for the plantation labor. But unfortunately, the planters nonchalantly violated all these provisions, welfare measures. The main question, therefore, is the question of implementation of the provisions of the Act. Mere amendments will not improve the position. There is no provision in the present bill also as to how these measures, these provisions can be implemented and what the government is thinking in terms of implementing these provisions. In most cases, even the government officials who are deputed for the purpose of inspecting the gardens, they themselves side with the planters. If government officers themselves side with the planters, where is the remedy? Hence, we should devise ways and means and adopt measures so that the provisions bill are implemented properly. Sir, the provisions in the present bill fall short of the expectations of the working population in the plantations. In the present bill, it has been suggested that the acreage of the plantations in regard to which this act will be applied will be reduced to 5 hectares. But this is also not sufficient, because under this also the owners, the planters will take shelter and many or the plantations will still remain uncovered. This should be further reduced to 2.5 hectares so far as compensation for house collapse is concerned. It has been said here that if the occupant of a house is directly responsible for the collapse, he will not be entitled to compensation. Under this provision, sir, the employers will take shelter and deprive many workers of getting compensation. Sir, it is known to everybody that the plantation industry is the biggest foreign exchange earning industry. Unemployment is mounting up and we have not been able to generate enough employment opportunities to provide even for those people who are entering the labor market today, perhaps to the extent envisaged during the 10th plan. The point that I want to make is that it is not quite justifiable to take only one aspect of the 10th plan period, namely the agencies of capital mobilization, out of the context of the general economic situation in the country. When we are therefore making this huge tax effort, we will have to apply our mind with equal seriousness, if not more, to see that the income generation in the community is as great as is envisaged, so that the savings and investments could be effected without disturbing unnecessarily the consumption pattern in the community. Whenever there is any tax on corporations, this cry is raised, and this cry is always belied by what the industrialists themselves have claimed to be the sensitive barometer to find out the climate for capital formation. I mean the stock exchanges. This time the stock exchanges have reached quite favorably to the budget proposals as a whole, which clearly shows that whatever else may be the merit of the present budget proposals, it is certainly not anti-capital. Last year also, the stock markets boomed up after the taxation proposals were announced. This time, though they were a little hesitant at first, ultimately I think they have realized that there is nothing wrong with the taxation proposals and they are now merrily mounting up. This is quite natural because there are so many benefits and advantages in our economy today that it is not difficult for the corporate sector to absorb a small rise of 5% in the corporation tax, which has been proposed by the Honorable Finance Minister. The economy of the nation today is more or less a closed economy because due to the lack of external finances, imports have been virtually prohibited. There is a lot of planning in the country which makes risk bearing rather unlikely, and because of the regulation of the economy, internal competition is also not very great. The risk bearing capacity which is claimed by the industrialists really forgetting large profits and large yields on their investment is almost non-existent in our economy today. Our markets are expanding very fast and the money generated is much more than the production of commodities, with the result that there are shortage is almost every commodity. It should not be difficult for the industrialists to absorb the small rise of 5% in the corporate tax. 100 की स्पीड है, 810 वर्ड है, 90 पे लिखेंगे. रेडी, start it. Mr. Vice Chairman, sir, I would like to speak on this bill in the interest of the rapid economic growth in the country. If the nation grows from strength to strength economically, leading to eradication of the degrading and disheartening poverty of the people of India, the workers of this nation would also benefit and they would also go above the poverty line. Sir, I would like to mention here that the plantation crops, as understood by the term so far, namely coffee, rubber, tea and cardamom, have been giving this nation substantial amount of the much coveted foreign exchange annually. It must be noted that coffee exports alone have given our economy during the last 5 years over rupees 1,000 crores in foreign exchange by way of export earnings and export duties. I must also bring to the attention of this House that the famed tea industry in India today has become a sick industry affecting lakhs of workers and the tea planters. Sir, we ought to know that in the agricultural sector, the plantation labor is the best organized one and is getting nearly the same treatment, facilities and amenities like the industrial labor. Sir, coming from a plantation district of Karnataka, I sincerely agree that the welfare measures provided in the Act must be faithfully implemented and strictly enforced. But I cannot subscribe to the view taken by some that the planters generally are exploiters and are inimical to the interests of their own workers, and that they must be dealt with severely. Sir, most of the planters of today are educated and they know that contented labor is conducive to productivity and peace in the states, and therefore would like to provide all the welfare measures and amenities to the workers. Sir, I would like to point out some of the very draconian, discriminatory and invidious urban directed amendments made in the Plantations Labor Amendment Bill 2013. Sir, the Plantations Labor Act is sought to be applied now even to holding of 5 hectares and above, employing 15 persons and more. Originally, in the bill brought before the Joint Committee, it was sought to be applied to holdings of 6.5 hectares and above. It would be realistic to make an amendment to the present bill to raise the size of holdings from 5 hectares to 6.5 hectares. The productivity of this industry in India can increase only if the labor are contented. Contented labor alone can improve the efficiency and productivity of the plantation industry. So, the need of the hour is not to bring such piecemeal legislation. What is needed today is a comprehensive bill which should deal with all aspects of the working conditions of the plantation labor. The need of the day is to introduce such a bill where workers will have full participation in managing the gardens, and this plantation industry should be nationalized immediately. Sir, Assam is one of the most important tea producing states in the country. There, formerly, the tea gardens were owned by the Britishers. Now, the Indians have purchased those gardens. After these gardens have gone to the hands of the Indian planters, the situation has not improved, rather it has deteriorated. The efficiency of the gardens has deteriorated. Even the local people and educated tea labor youth are being deprived of getting employment in the gardens. Therefore, steps should immediately be taken to nationalize this industry here. Sir, I would like to inform the House that in 1998-99, the ruling Janata Party in the Assam Assembly had adopted a resolution unanimously for nationalization of tea industry in Assam. If the government is not willing to nationalize the entire plantation industry, I would request that the government should take early step at least to nationalize the tea industry in Assam. It is a very vital matter for the economic self-sufficiency of Assam state, and it is very important from the point of view of increasing efficiency and productivity of the gardens also. I would like the government not only to pass this amendment bill, which I have risen to support, but also to ensure its implementation as best as it can. Otherwise, getting it passed and keeping a copy of it in the library or elsewhere will not improve the conditions of the plantation workers. I want proper implementation, proper enforcement of the law, and I want that desired amenities and facilities should be provided to these workers, and it should be ensured that employers do provide these amenities. When this question of joint committee was taken up in this house, our late friend Mr. Bhupesh Gupta was there, and he also voiced his feelings and said that these plantations should be acquired by the government. These are generally foreign owned establishments, and they are the centers, at least in Assam, of anti-Indian activities. These plantations deserve to be taken over by the government as early as possible. 816 वर्ड है, 90 की स्पीड है, 80 पे लिखेंगे. Last time. Ready? Start it. Mr. Vice Chairman, sir, I welcome the budget proposals for the year 2012-13, which are all comprehensive and which embrace most of the development plans that we have envisaged for the establishment of a socialistic society in this country. In spite of the taxation and the introduction of fresh duties, we find that the Finance Minister has succeeded in distributing only a macroscopic section of the people of this country to extract sufficient funds for our schemes. The Finance Minister has also succeeded in finding funds for almost all the development plans of this country, which will add to our good. While we discuss the general aspects of the budget, we will have to consider the activities of most of the sections that are now covered in the budget. Even though the provisions are there, I think, sir, the expenditure on some of the activities envisaged in this budget should be subjected to a thorough scrutiny. In this respect, sir, I wish to bring to the notice of this House the special feature of the educational system of this country. Some of the members have mentioned something about the educational system of this country, have remarked that the allocation of funds is not adequate and that the provision should be revised according to the needs of this country. As the honorable member was speaking in Hindi, I did not thoroughly understand that he meant, but still, sir, the educational system has created a sort of confusion in our country over the last 15 years, and every now and then we had been changing the schemes and plans for educating our children, and various states have adopted different schemes which have actually created a feeling of disintegration among the people of this country. In some of the states, they have switched on to the regional language as the medium of instruction, and in some states, they think that English should be retained as the medium of instruction. But the people believe that the medium of instruction should be Hindi. That is the national language of our country. But, sir, the time is not yet ripe for us to switch on to Hindi. So, as and when we find it feasible, we may switch on to our national language, but till that time, we will keep English as the medium of instruction in all educational institutions. Sir, we must bear in mind the economic viability of small plantations of 5 hectares and the financial capacity of the small planters to fulfill the obligations cast on them to provide housing and creche facilities. Those small planters in some cases are unable to provide themselves with houses and medical care as good as those intended for their workers in the bill. I am sure that good many small holdings will go into liquidation, unable to bear the burden when the prices fall, as in the case of tea today. I would empathetically say that clause 13 is not only draconian but discriminatory, and it is most harsh and killing to the farming community of India, whose hands feed and clothe the people, poor and rich. Sir, I strongly feel that the punishment with both compulsory fine and imprisonment is too severe for violation of a welfare legislation covered by the Act. For economic reasons and financial incapacity, the debt-ridden employer, particularly a smallholder, may be unable to discharge the obligations such as providing type design houses, creches, medical facilities, etc. In such cases, there is no point in sending the landholder to jail and collecting a fine from him for every day of default. The relevant provisions in the bill are made more stringent than the Factories Act, under which, in the case of a further offence, the country is given the discretion to punish the defaulting employer. But in the proposed amendment, the word used is shall instead of may, which makes it mandatory on the court to impose imprisonment as well as fine. These provisions are too harsh and discriminatory, particularly in view of the fact that the bill seeks to bring in farms of 5 hectares which are in the nature of peasant holdings under the scope of the Act. Sir, I would like to ask the government of the people, for the people, and by the people, in the same of the farmers of India, why it wants to treat a farmer as a criminal and to be imprisoned for such an offense, while it does not do so for a factory owner of a city. By making this comparison, I do not mean that a provision should be made in the Relevant Factories Act to make the sentence of imprisonment compulsory for similar offences. Let me make it clear that I am not speaking against the interest of the workers in the plantations. I am only speaking against the stringent and invidious measures which have been provided in the bill affecting the rural employers and the invidious laws enacted for them. 80 की स्पीड है, 832 वर्ड्स है, लास्ट कंटेंट था इसका. केसी रिव्यू 7 का है, पहले 120 पे, फिर 110 पे, फिर 100 पे, और फिर 90 पे, और फिर लास्ट वाली 80 बोली गई है. आपको एक साथ लिखनी है इसको जब आप इस असाइनमेंट को सबमिट करेंगे. बुधवार को जो क्लास होगी भाई वो 9:15 पे होगी स्टार्ट, लेट हो जाती है काफ़ी ज़्यादा, 9 या 9:15 के आसपास.